Wizards of the Coast has just released the second wave of Streets of New Capenna spoilers, and there's some crazy stuff in there. But what's even wilder are the Boxtoppers. Streets of New Capenna Boxtoppers are unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well, because we have gathered for some more Streets of New Capenna juiciness. Not only are we going to talk about spoilers, we're also going to discuss the absolutely wild Boxtopper concept. So let's start with that. So to properly understand the Boxtopper situation with New Capenna, we start out with these two versions of Gala Greeters. A pretty solid green card, 1 green and 1 for a 1/1 elf druid that has the Alliance ability, which is really just a flavor word that talks about when another creature enters the battlefield under your control. So every time a creature comes out under your control that's not the Gala Greeters themselves, you get to choose one of these 3 effects, but you can't choose the same effect twice in a turn. So you can either put a +1/+1 counter on it, you can create a tapped treasure token, which is interesting, right? Because treasure tokens are acceleration, but coming into play tapped slows that acceleration down, or you can gain 2 life. So each turn, theoretically, you can grow this creature, get a treasure token, and have your life boost up by 2. Now, the blue-skinned version you're looking at is the regular version that is going to be available in standard Streets of New Capenna sets, right? Now, the Gala Greeters that shows the individual being escorted from their car here, well, that situation is the Boxtopper. And here's the thing, there are technically 11 different Boxtoppers, but at the same time, there is only one Boxtopper. So no matter what box you buy, when you get a Boxtopper, you're going to be getting a Gala Greeters, but you're not guaranteed to be getting the one you see on the screen because that's just for English boxes. This time around, what Wizards of the Coast has done they have created a Gala Greeters for every different language that they release Magic the Gathering in. So I'm going to show you a variety of these different options. There are 11 different ones, including the English one, and the art varies in terms of quality. Some of them are absolutely stunning, right? There are a few that really stand out to me. There is an individual who's standing beside a lady in front of cherry blossoms at what looks like a train station to me as greeters. That one is absolutely incredible. There's one where you have maidens with these peacock fans that look absolutely beautiful. And then there's one that is an absolute nightmare where you have these freak show sort of clowns inviting you into a party that I would run full force away from, right? So this is definitely a departure in terms of Boxtopper concepts, and I'm honestly not sure how I feel about it. On one hand, it is a cool concept to do all these different variants. On the other hand, it really sucks for somebody who's from a particular place and would like cards in their language, but would like art of a different variety, right? Because there's so many different choices, and with the exception of the freak show clowns, there's a lot of coolness in here. And speaking of coolness, let's talk about some spoilers from Capenna today. We're gonna start out with Arcane Bombardment. Bombardment! You ever see that Simpsons episode? 2 red and 4 for an enchantment that says, whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. Then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You can cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. So, this is a mythic rare with a big fat casting cost, right? Obviously, right away when you put it out, it does nothing by itself. You can spend 6 mana and do nothing at all, but the effect you get when it gets rolling is absolutely wild. The first time that you get to use this, you're going to play an instant or sorcery spell, right? And then bam, it's going to pick something random from your graveyard and feed it into the bombardment. And then it's going to stagger these and step them up one by one. Each turn, you're going to get to add another spell into this. And understand, this isn't just on your turn. So if you're playing, if you're playing Commander game, you could theoretically do this 3 more times before you get to your turn. But if you have enough instants and sorceries, you can literally play them on your opponent's turns and beef up the number of spells that are under this. And it's not going to take many iterations before it gets absolutely bonkers, right? You could just put small spells on this. You could have a spell that does 2 damage to any target. You could have another spell that says draw a card, discard a card. And you start to stack these up and all of a sudden, oh look, I'm casting this instant or sorcery. I also get to do 2 damage, draw a card and discard a card, do this effect. Like, it is going to stack up insanely. And the artwork is fun in that you can see this fire trail of echo hands that are basically casting more spells all at the same time. This is a really cool concept for an enchantment, and the power level is right there where you go, okay, is this going to be epic or is this going to be a flop? Who knows? It could go either way. I like that, right? So after that, we've got Fabine, Boss's Confidant. I'm mixing in a couple of like the legendary sort of commander deck cards as well. So Fabine is 1 white, 1 green, 1 red, and 3 for a 3/6 legendary cat advisor. I advise you to get me some milk. All right, so creature tokens you control have haste. It has Parley. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each land card revealed this way, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Then creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn for each non-land card revealed this way. Then each player draws a card. Admittedly, I'm somebody who really doesn't like giving my opponents bonus resources if I can avoid it. So, sure, at this point it's going to obviously feed me creatures and things like that and make them bigger for the cards that are revealed, but I really don't like the idea of feeding my opponent extra card draw specifically. Now, granted, this is created specifically for Commander play, and in Commander, there is a lot more, let me share stuff, like, let's share stuff around. I can kind of mitigate the disadvantages. There's ways to work it. That's really what I'm trying to say here. So ultimately, this is a perfectly fine card. It's just we all have particular quirks when it comes to Magic the Gathering. And one of mine is, no, I don't want to give you anything. I never wanted to use Howling Minds and stuff back in the day very much. Like, I just always want the advantage to be on my side because I'm used to playing a 2-player game where I'm trying to destroy you, not help you, right? The artwork is hilarious. You have basically, she's like almost like a cat psychologist, right? You've got the crime boss there sitting in his chair telling her stuff. She's making notes. And how does that make you feel? It kind of makes me think of that, what was that movie with Robert De Niro? And he's like a mob boss, but he's getting older and he feels like he's losing his touch. So he has to go and get a psychologist, and then he's got to hide that from the other mob guys. And it's analyze this, something like that. It's actually a genuinely enjoyable movie. I didn't think it's Billy Crystal. That's who it was. That's fun, and this gives me that kind of like goofy vibes as well, right? I dig that. All right, so next up we've got Evelyn the Covetous. So we've got some hybrid mana going on here. You got black-red hybrid, 1 black, black-blue hybrid, and 2 for a 2/5 legendary vampire rogue with flash. I don't know, I gotta say, she's looking kind of old. You start talking about Flash and you lose my attention with that age. Oh no! Anyways, whenever Evelyn the Covetous or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on it. Once each turn, you may play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you control, and you may spend mana as though it were any color to cast it. So this lets you just swipe cards off the top of your opponent's deck every turn? Or is it when it's, oh no, sorry, it's not when she attacks. I thought it was when she comes in and attacks. I misread it. So when she comes into play or another vampire enters the battlefield. Okay, that keeps the power level somewhat in check. If you could exile off the top and play every time. That would be wild. Although I really do enjoy the fact that she allows you to take advantage of cards that you've exiled in other ways. So if you've exiled something without using her ability, you still have the ability to use it as long as you can get a collection counter on her, right? So hopefully there'll be other cards that add collection counters. There is that sort of stipulation, right? The next card we're going to talk about is what I expect to become an incredibly obnoxious uncommon, all right? And that is the Nimble Larcenist. So this is 1 black, 1 blue, and 1 white for a 2/1 bird rogue with flying. When Nimble Larcenist enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact, instant, or sorcery from it, and exile that card. Now, yes, the casting cost on it, honestly, is somewhat restrictive, and that will keep it a little bit in check. Do you know what I mean? From like you seeing it in too many decks. But the fact of the matter is this thing can just be flashed back over and over again, right? White and blue are good at making creatures disappear and reappear and all that silly nonsense. So this is really where it seems to me like it could get super gross, is if you have a situation where somebody just keeps hitting you with it again and again, right? Like it reveals the hand, and revealing the hand gives a ton of information on top of you letting you pick their best artifact, instant, or sorcery. Yes, it's not going to hit planeswalkers, enchantments, creatures, so it is limited in scope, but I just genuinely feel like it screams to me, you're going to hate playing against this, right? The next card we have to talk about is Cross Defense Contractor. And that is 1 blue, 1 white, and 1 green, and 1 for a 2/4 Cat Advisor. He has the ability at the beginning of your upkeep, put a shield counter on target creature an opponent controls, which at first blush feels weird, right? Because shield counters are pure benefit. It literally says if the creature would be destroyed or would take damage, instead remove the shield counter, and that doesn't happen, right? So shield counters are fairly potent. But obviously, Cross has the additional ability of whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it, it gains trample until your next turn. So essentially, in a commander game, you're basically going, okay, that guy's going to swing in, and he's going to be harder to deal with because I've put a shield on him. So if you try and hit it with a creature destruction spell, it's got a shield on it. You try and block it and deal combat damage, shield protects it, right? So in a way, it allows you to make your opponents use their creatures, but in a way that may not frustrate them as much. Because if you're using Cross and going, hey man, you have to attack him with your dragon, and I lose my dragon, I'm going to be mad at you. But if I swing with my dragon, and my dragon's protected, then I go, oh, okay, I really didn't lose anything, and one of my opponents is worse off. So is this a bad deal? No. Not really. And I like the artwork as well. He's standing there. He's got that kind of like lawyer broker vibe, right? Because that's what they do. They go around making contracts with people. Literally, I will protect you if you sign this magical contract. A defense contractor. It works perfectly. I love it. It's great. So the idea behind this card is good. The flavor artwork is great, right? Now, I want to talk about a very weird common, because Wizards is trying something different here with Maestro's Theater. So this is a land that says, when Maestro's Theater enters the battlefield, sacrifice it. When you do, search your library for a basic land, swamp, or mountain card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and you gain 1 life. The flavor text says only extraordinary performers are invited to grace the grandest stage in New Capenna. I have to admit, the Maestros are my favorite family. After reading the entirety of the New Capenna story, Xander is the coolest leader of the coolest family. And if you don't know the Streets of New Capenna story, it is definitely enjoyable. I have the entire thing in a 5-part series on my Fantasy Geographic channel. I will leave it linked on screen, so it will be on the screen at the end of the video if you want to check it out. Now, this land is wild because it's very similar to Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds, right? Which are lands that you put out and you sacrifice them to go and get a basic land. This is more restrictive in that you can only get 3 particular types of land, the island, the swamp, or the mountain. But it's even more odd in that this is not a land that you actually sacrifice. As soon as you put it out, you trigger this sacrifice event, right? So if your opponent actually has a way to counter that initial trigger, then this land becomes a blank card. It sits in play, it cannot tap for a mana, and does nothing. But if you do have a way, let's say for example you have Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth that makes all of your lands count as swamps, well, now all of a sudden, you can tap this for a mana on its way. It basically comes into play, the trigger goes on the stack saying, sacrifice me, you can tap it for a mana, and then it gets sacrificed, and go and gets the land. So it's very weird at first blush to go, why are Wizards creating lands that are objectively straight up, well, I guess they're not straight up worse, because they can give you a life, right? But you don't have to tap to activate this. That's what it is. This is for Arena, isn't it? This is a way to save hassle in Arena, because if you put out one of those lands in Arena, like let's say I play one of those lands, Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds in Arena, right? I put that out and then I don't use it right away. So now every part of every phase, the game is going, hey, do you want to crack this? Hey, do you want to crack this? And your opponent has to wait unless I do a full pass. So it creates all these stages of wait. You put this into Arena, the land has to be used right away. So you have to go and search up the land. I'm guessing that is the reason behind this. Artwork's pretty straightforward. It's literally the Maestro's Theater. So that wraps up all the spoilers that I wanted to talk about today, my friends. Like I said, new Capenna story is literally up on the screen for you. Link if you want to check it out. It is a great story. Other than that, big thank you to my patrons, and I will see you all, my friends, for the next video.